Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Roster drama continues with FURIA potentially blowing up their entire team and only keeping one man on the lineup. But Zellsis, he gives his response to the Sentinel situation that may well continue to develop. For some time now, Reduxx on the Qubit Academy has been their substitute player. There were big questions when they initially signed him, whether anyone might make way if they didn't perform, and Reduxx turned 18. Well, that hasn't happened. Zellsis gives his response to the situation, but if he continues to perform as he has done, certainly at the playoffs in a few days' time, there should be no issues for the Sentinels roster for now. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Just wanted to quickly go through what's happening in the regions when the next games are concluding, and just to quickly give the breakdown of the various regions. So, in China, 4 teams remain. Wolves and G-Like Gaming have qualified for Masters Toronto. Edward versus Billy is the big series to determine the other team that's going to make it. Those games happen on the 2nd of May. This is the Americas, so starting tomorrow night, MIBR 100T happens, so that's, and obviously Sentinels Cloud9 as well. So these games are tomorrow, the first round games, and after a couple of days we will also get in the same as the Chinese region, which teams have got to the next stage. It's kind of crazy, not crazy really, but like, there's a lot of time for Edward and BLG to prep each other, right? Like, they literally have almost 2 weeks to prepare for that next series. Other regions have less time, as you guys can tell. This is the Pacific, so it's a couple of days later, right? 26th of April is when Talon, Gen.G and DRX T1 get underway. I will just quickly look at DRX here because they've made official today that Flashback is going to be on their bench now. This was a matter for debate a little while ago, what exactly they were going to do about it, but it was seen today by the database that Flashback is now officially their reserve player. So, yeah, Mako freeing Hyan Min, Bayon and Estrella. That is kind of officially now the 5-man lineup. I kind of like Flashback, but they've decided to move a different way, and he will stay as a reserve, it seems, for the team for the time being. So that's what's happening in the Pacific. And then in EMEA, it's not over yet. We've not even got a playoffs bracket, but that's going to come up over the next couple of days. Starting today, BBL play for esports, Giant-X play Apex. Giant-X Apex doesn't really matter. BBL for esports, again, for seeding, it could well still be relevant. But really over there, it's all about whether Gentlemates could possibly do enough to get over Carmine Core, but I'm not really sure that that's even going to be possible. The game that people are really looking forward to, though, is Fnatic versus Heretics on the Group Alpha side, because both these teams are 4-0. This is to determine who advances to 5-0 and becomes that number 1 seed. Couple of days, we will get our answer to those questions. That's the update around the world. China has 2 million players playing, which is kind of a lot. So if they aren't, the Chinese teams aren't good now, then they certainly will be in a couple of years, and frankly, they already are. Just wanted to quickly dive into this again because I saw a great analysis on this, all of the implications from Bleed's departing. The story of the season, maybe not the story of the season, but certainly one of the stories, is Boom Esports here ended up topping Group Alpha in the Pacific from not even qualifying through Ascension, but getting in because Bleed Esports full collapse. And I thought this is pretty good from Gur Nom too, who breaks down all of the implications from Bleed leaving, right? So Boom came in, and they're looking real exciting. Because Aspas MIBR was not going to be a thing if Bleed got him, that would never have happened. So MIBR wouldn't have had the team. They probably don't end up getting Verno because they're not an exciting option, whatever. Juicy's gone to Wolves. Crazy Guy's gone to RRQ. Ye's then gone to EG. And Deryon's gone to GE. And okay, it's not exactly looking ideal over there, but still, it's a lot of teams have improved or been helped by that Bleed Esports collapse. And it's funny how lots of those players, while showing good promise elsewhere, have, at least at the time, looked pretty bad because Bleed Esports was dysfunctional, I think, to say the very least, and eventually did completely fail to function when the organisation fully collapsed. KD leaders, stage 1, Foxy9 leads the way with a 1.5. Miniboo has a 1.48, Cryo with a 1.48, Aspas isn't far behind, who's surprised. These are your other top 10 so far. Of course, it depends to some degree on the teams that you've played against, the competition that is being had, and we shall see how that translates when we turn up to the big playoffs matches in a couple of days' time. We're going back to Bangkok, not for Masters, but for Ascension and for Game Changers. So it seems like they enjoyed that city, and VCT Ascension Pacific and Game Changers Pacific will be back in Bangkok in October, so more details on that one coming soon. But yeah, pretty big announcement really to see that that's now officially confirmed after some discussion for a little while. But let's talk rosters, because it's all going on. Firstly, FURIA, really. I mean, they're they're, of course, a complete disaster. We can see here in the playoffs, where are FURIA? Oh, yeah, they're not here because they got knocked out in the group stages 0-5 with a 2-10 record. They got smoked by basically everyone. They won one map against NRG, so I guess congratulations. And they won a map against MIBR, actually, but in a series that didn't really matter to MIBR because they were already pretty much confirmed to be where they were going to be in the bracket. But yeah, FURIA have been maybe surprisingly shambolic. I don't know what you guys think about it. Their players on paper, I mean, Wazera, of course, now inactive, but Rafa and Havoc. Havoc was a name that was floating around as a potential future talent of that scene. Khalil, Prize, like, it's not been great. Clearly, again, pretty dysfunctional. Heat has been maybe more of the shining star, and that's where the rumour comes in today that FURIA are considering completely wiping their entire roster away and bringing in Heat alone, really, going forwards. Obviously, again, funny to look at in hindsight how when FURIA played their first game against 2G in the kickoff, that was with a team because they had visa issues, right? They couldn't even get the guys out there in time. So they played with Penny, B-Dog, Jake, Stella, and Ada, and they won the series 2-0 in the kickoff. And then as soon as they brought back their Brazilian team, it's all fallen off a cliff. And they've played some good teams in here, but it's obviously not been pretty. So there was an article from Bruno Porelleri last night that is at least a discussion point, that Heat may remain and everybody else may go. But yeah, the decision has yet to be finalized. And even if they were to do that, where would they go? Who would they sign? Would they look to some of those 2G guys as well? I mean, maybe it's not impossible. Big roster changes can and should be expected very shortly indeed. But let's talk about Sentinels. They of course play Cloud9, as we said, tomorrow in what is going to be a massively important series for both of those different teams. Here's the playoffs. Here's SEN Cloud9. Loser, I'm pretty sure, goes on to play Evil Geniuses. Winner plays G2. So either way, it's not an easy road for these teams to make it through to the playoffs. But a massive weekend for SEN. They didn't get the #1 seed over Crew. They could have done, and if they had have done, would they have liked that scenario? Probably, yeah. I mean, like, do you want to play G2? No. If you can avoid it, you probably don't. Although it's a big storyline continuing there with Sentinels. But if Sentinels crash and burn, let's say they get 2-0'd by Cloud9, and then they get smoked out by EG. What do they do in this scenario? They've had a good stage. I don't think that is going to be happening, but they've played well lately. They've definitely turned it around from a challenging time out there in Bangkok, and as of late, they've looked stronger, but they've certainly not played any teams that you're like, wow, that's a very impressive victory, apart from maybe the 100T victory a while ago, but they're going to need to do better than that going forwards. And their team this season has felt like they're getting stronger, but certainly not quite felt like they're at the level that they ever got to last year with Sassy and with Tens, but they do have a future potentially ready and waiting. This is a tweet here from Era on October the 11th last year, where he said, look, Sentinels are getting rid of their older players. Tens 23, old player. God, I really am so washed up. But, you know, Sassy was 26, old man, right? But look, older players, sure, justifies to make room for younger talent. Bang's coming through, Narrate's coming through. Narrate's been, you know, obviously expected to deliver with the team changes that were made, and he's getting there, I think, as of late. But we have the discussion on Reduxx potentially coming in for elderly player Zellsis, who's 26. John QT's IGL, so who cares? But this has been a talking point, especially because at the time this was discussed, there were questions on how well Zellsis was performing. Lately, though, he's certainly been holding his own. I think he's been pretty respectable, actually. Zellsis' individual play lately has been pretty damn good. Certainly not bad enough to justify dropping him, especially because Reduxx himself has not exactly been frying down there on Cube Academy and challenges, but it was confirmed yesterday that we've been looking for this moment for some time, that Reduxx at the end of April was going to turn 18, at which time he can play in the Pro League, and he still probably remains the most attractive option there on that team if Sentinels were going to look to make a move. And of course, he is also their official substitute for the league. So the question was there since last October, as we say, that if Reduxx turns 18, which he now has done, and the team struggles, then the timing might align. And let's be real, the timing is very interesting. The playoffs are just about to happen. Reduxx has just turned 18. So in a scenario where they crash and burn, it's a conversation that might need to be had. Zekken is not going anywhere. Don't believe the lies on this. But, we did get this one here from, this is a tweet from September last year when Reduxx and Zellsis were on the same team, but there was talk about it. And obviously Zellsis, as I put in the thumbnail, this is the reply from Zellsis that he's like, oh my God, here we go again, right? He's finally coming of age to come and take my spot. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen yet. It may happen at some point, right? And obviously these guys are going to joke about it, but it's not like it's a complete impossibility that Reduxx for Zellsis and play around with the roles is a possibility at some point. For now, I doubt it, and Zellsis knows that, like, as long as he performs, as long as the team performs, there will be no pressure on his spot. And maybe it shouldn't even be Zellsis that the pressure is on, but, I think you'd argue that if you were going to change anyone on that roster, Zellsis is maybe the player who might be looked at. John QT can't go anywhere as the IGL, Zekken's their best player, and then Bang and Narrate have come in recently. And, well, at least in my opinion, Zekken's their best player. You guys may disagree. But, Narrate's been good, a little bit up and down. Bang's been good, but obviously he's on the controller role. So it's not so clear what they would do if they wanted to make a change there. So then he says, like, happy birthday, though. You'll come good at some point, but for now, please don't take my spot, is kind of the bottom line. So tweet your thoughts and all of that stuff in the comment section below, and where Sentinels may or may not go from here. Just a couple of scrims, 100T YFP at 12-7. We actually did have as well Qubit playing SEN. So here we see Reduxx, here we see Narrate and Zekken, and of course Zellsis on the other side as well. And this was 7-6 to Sentinels at the time, so not all that much really that can be read into that. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.